Hi, hey everyone. I'm T. Krulos.
I'm Heidi Erickson.
So, we love strange creatures on this show. Obviously, we've talked about the Rougarou earlier this
Mhm,
the Beast of Bray Road, the
mhm,
Wendigo. We're
mhm.
talking about Goat Man again pretty soon.
Yeah.
One of our favorite topics. But, there's a new cryptid in town. New is not the right word. It's probably been around since ancient times,
Yeah.
but it's something that people are talking about,
Mhm.
and that is a creature called the knot deer.
The not dear.
Here, I made a banner for our video just for this story, and
You
it
did?
says it's not a knot deer.
Yeah. It could
Heidi,
be.
Heidi, what the hell is a knot deer?
Okay. I would like to preface this by saying that I moved to Wisconsin in 1995. Um, back in the last century. And where I grew up, there was not a lot of there was wooded places, but it wasn't like it was here. And I moved to rural Wisconsin. Um, Rural anywhere when you're not used to it is very I don't want to say off-putting, but it's definitely creepy. Once you get away from like civilized society and there's not a Starbucks on every corner, you know what I mean? And there's not like anybody around that you can yell at. Um, it starts to get very creepy. And the not deer is a concept that I was familiar with from a very young age because of this, though I didn't necessarily call it the not deer. Not deer, if you listen on the internet, and the not deer is having a moment right now. You can go onto TikTok. It's one of the um, most looked up hashtags right now is not deer. I'm going to go ahead and claim responsibility for that. That was all me. I did that. It was mine. Because on one of the many cryptid groups that I follow on the internets, someone had posted that they had had an encounter with a creature that appeared to be a deer, but wasn't actually a deer. And when asked to describe what it was about this deer that made it not a deer, they couldn't quite put their finger on it. And I said, well, that was a not deer. You should stay away from there. If you can possibly avoid it, take another route home. That's not where you want to be. Um, if you look it up, people will say that the not deer, because I got into a fight with a person on this cryptid group because they said, I did. I got into a serious fight because they said that the not deer was a made up cryptid.
Mhm.
Which, first of all, you guys,
Okay.
he said it's not a real cryptid. And I was like, is it not? Is it less real than Mothman? Is it less real than Bigfoot? Um, he said it was invented on the internet just recently, which is not entirely true. Most of the not deer, like Reddit threads and what have you, actually do come from last year, which I think is interesting because most people were stuck in their houses last year and not having a lot of interactions with other human beings. Maybe they were just spending a lot of time driving out in those back roads. I don't know, smashing bush lights like we did back in the day or whatever. And they're just like, holy shit, that's a thing that's happening. The first instance of not deer being mentioned on the internet actually goes back to 2014, which is, I mean, a long time ago. I have no concept of linear time anymore. I'm not really sure. Um, Allegedly, and this is where I start to have feelings and thoughts. Allegedly, this is an Appalachian, like not so much a cryptid as like a folk legend
Mhm.
um, of a creature that looks like a deer,
Yeah.
but is in some way off. Most frequently, people say that their joints are in the wrong place or face in the wrong direction, that they have weird proportions. Specifically, they have mentioned that their snouts are long and that they have sharp teeth or the
Oh.
impression of sharp teeth. Yeah, like a wolf would have, like their faces are more wolf-like. The most consistent description of a not deer is that they have no fear of human beings. So it could even look like a regular deer, but it will stand there and stare you down. This is what a not deer is supposed to be. First of all, that's not Appalachian. This is like not a region specific phenomenon. I promise you, there are not deer in the Wisconsin woods. I guarantee you, there's not deer in Michigan. There's probably like a conference that they hold in Nebraska. Like for sure, they're every place. Most people will say that the knot deer is the result of deer getting this prion disease. A prion disease is a disease that makes your DNA like unfold itself. It's bad. It's essentially a zombie deer disease. It's a wasting disease, chronic wasting disease. So they get really thin and mangy. Their ears flop and their eyes get all glassy. They look like zombies, like zombie deer. The biggest indicator that a deer has this is that they have no fear of people anymore. They get real aggressive and they have no fear of human beings any longer. So people will say, well, instances of the knot deer showing up do happen to like coincide with outbreaks of this chronic wasting disease. But A, that's not true at all. I mean, yes, sometimes they do, but correlation doesn't equal causation. And as you mentioned, like this is a thing that goes back a long way. There's ties with, I can't wait to tell you guys about Goatman. We're going to talk about Goatman probably the next episode, and this all really ties in. I wish I had like a spreadsheet for you guys because it would be very, very synchronous. This idea of like weird godlike creatures that are living in the guise of human or of animals out in the woodlands, like Pan or Cernus would be, because when you come into contact with a knot deer, the thing really that defines it is that you're looking at something you think you know that seems ordinary, but there is something about it that is not right. So you get that uncanny valley thing, like you get with ventriloquist dummies or whatever, where you're like, that's not right and I don't like it. But you can't describe why it's not right. It's because it looks like one thing, but it clearly isn't. But they're having a moment right now. The knot deer are having a moment. They're out there and people are heated about whether or not it's a real thing and where it actually started and what it actually means. So
well,
that's what's going
look,
on.
this guy, all right, there's this joker arguing on the internet. I'm going to tell you something. Okay. I was working on my second book, Monster Hunters. I wanted to be knowledgeable about cryptozoology. I took an online class,
In
and
cryptozoology? That's so
yes,
cool.
yes. And at the end of the class, you had to take a test, and I passed, and I got a certificate of completion for the course. So you could say that I am a certificated cryptozoologist.
I don't know if I can say that.
and,
Okay.
and in my opinion, the knot deer totally qualifies as a cryptid.
Right. I think so, because it's not a deer. Like if you think about Sasquatch, what is Sasquatch? He's just a big monkey, right? Just like the fact that he's an actual maybe animal doesn't mean he's any less a cryptid. We're not going to pull his cryptid card just because he might be somewhere on the actual, tree of life over there. That's not fair. That's not cool. I don't care for that at all. Mothman? What if he's a moth? We know what moths are. I've seen moths before. I've seen men before. Does that mean Mothman's not a cryptid? Absolutely not. That's bullshit. Also, I'd like to point out that it came from Reddit. Doesn't disqualify it either. The internet is the new, like, mass consciousness. Anything that just erupts out of Tumblr or wherever, that's as good as if your great great granny told your story to her neighbor who told it to her, whatever, and you hear it. Like, where do you think those stories came from? Like those stories, they just erupted out of like observations and people having experiences. Just like I hate it when people try and delegitimize the internet. It's like, this is the greatest creation of mankind, you guys. This is all of our entire experience and every piece of information that we have up to this point as a species. And they'll be like, it just came from Reddit. I'm like, fuck you guys, dude. That's like magic. That's like the Akashic records. Stop being a dickhead. Anyway, the point is, the knot deer are out there. If you've ever been up by, I think I mentioned this once on the show before, Crandon. You ever been up by Crandon Way? T.
I don't think I've been up there. I know where it is.
Crandon is a super weird place where there's a mine and also there was a crazy mass murder. And it's supposed to be hella haunted there. Which if you drive to Crandon, you can absolutely believe, because the back roads that take you there, because you can't get there. There's no highway. There's no freeway. that takes you there. It's like Bob's Road in the middle of fucking nowhere. And the trees are so dense because it used to be like a logging area. They did logging and stuff too. So they cut down all those trees and they grew back, but they grew back really tight together, like
Yeah.
really tight because they're all younger trees. And taking that road in the middle of the night, holy shit, dude. You would believe not deers out there, Sasquatch, Jersey Devil, everybody, they're all fucking having a party out by Crandon, no doubt about it. I had a friend who drove up there one time. Now, grant you, it's possible that this person had consumed some illicit substances. I'm not suggesting that they were sober at all under any way. Like they were going to fuck.
Yeah.
Right. They were going to Crandon. Like they weren't, like, what's not the kind of thing you want to do sober. So they were driving up there in the middle of the night in a fucking minivan and swore for like 15 minutes because this highway is like 45 minutes of nothing but trees. Absolutely believed that they were being pursued through the trees by a creature that was keeping up with the van.
Wow.
Yeah, and at some point, like
a creature that was running or flying.
Right, I mean, I don't know, moving through the trees at great speed.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, at about level with the van.
Yeah.
And she, like they said that they at one point were driving like 100 miles an hour down this country highway, and whatever it was in the tree line, like, you know, whatever, 7 feet away from the van, keeping pace, like it was playing with them.
Damn.
Like you go out to those places and like you have these experiences, and maybe it's because you're a human person who's used to like little boxes and streets with names that aren't Bob's Road and like shit like that, and it's just freaking you out. Or maybe like that's where all the weird shit is, because no matter how weird that shit is, it still doesn't want anything to do with like us at all. Like the suburbs, ew, fuck that, no way. But I don't know. It's out there. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know. Do you ever see a not deer? Is that a thing that ever happened to you?
I have not seen a not deer, and I don't think I want to. I love though that this is like certain cryptids have like they're hot.
Yeah.
You know? Like Mothman definitely. I mean, he's always a perennial favorite, but
sure,
it seems like there's been times where Mothman was really like a hot thing. People are making tons of art and memes about him.
Yeah.
About them. You know, and I love that not deer is this season's like hottest cryptid. I hope
it's awesome.
I hope this goes all the way up to like TMZ or something.
Oh, I'd super love it. I would super love it because I know like for a second there, everybody was all about the Wendigo or whatever. And of course, there's a lot of like weird cultural connotations that go with that. And I've noticed that people have tried to compare the not deer with the Wendigo. And I've noticed a really strong impulse in people to just be like, no, a Wendigo is a DNA myth. A Wendigo is like a person who did bad magic and is like lusting for human flesh. And the not deer doesn't necessarily lust for human flesh, is not necessarily even going to hurt you. The not deer is more like a psychopomp. It lets you know that you're someplace you shouldn't be and you should leave immediately. Like that's the general feeling, is that you need to get the fuck out of there, which I love because that's like a public service, right? Like that's our tax dollars at work.
Yeah. By the way, this reminds me, Milwaukee Paranormal Conference has a very interesting inbox, and we sometimes will get contacted by the publicity department of a movie studio because they want us to use our social media to give away some free movie tickets.
I bet they do.
So sometimes I ignore them because the movies are stupid and I don't want to even talk to them. Right. But I was contacted by, there's a new movie out called Antler.
Oh, I'm so excited. The new Guillermo del Toro joint.
Yeah. So they're gonna, if people aren't following us, follow Milwaukee Paranormal Conference on Facebook, because we're gonna be giving out some free tickets.
Oh, you guys.
Antler. So.
Okay, I don't know if you like looked at this movie. Was supposed to come out 2 years ago or last year or whatever, but then it didn't because COVID. And I was so upset because I was really into seeing it, because this movie it's got that kind of like not deer, like the wild world that surrounds us kind of feeling to it. And it's a Guillermo del Toro joint, so you know it's going to be like at least pretty, like it's at least going to be aesthetically pleasing. But the critics said it was awesome. The critics said it was super good, really disturbing, but like not a lot of body horror, like pursuing this kind of weird dark mythology, which is just so very now, so hot right now. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
sweet. There'd
yeah.
probably
You
be
guys can't.
some.
Those are my tickets. You guys can have those tickets. What
there's,
tickets?
there's probably going to be some not deers in the audience, probably.
I would imagine. I mean, sure. What the hell else are they doing with their time?
I was I was gonna say that this next story tied into Guillermo del Toro, but I just mixed them up for a second in my mind with Peter Jackson.
Oh,
I don't know why. I mean, they're not similar. Well, I mean, they're
maybe.
kind of in the same ballpark.
I mean, I would
But
sit at a table and listen to those guys have a conversation over a beer for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Go on a
And they
road trip.
collaborate. They did collaborate. They
Did
collaborated
they?
on The Hobbit. Guillermo del Toro was going to direct it, and then
What?
it split off, and Peter Jackson did. But a lot of this, like the Goblin Village, that was all Guillermo del Toro and that movie.
Oh, I can see
Yeah,
that. That makes
yeah,
total sense.
yeah,
I kind of wish that Guillermo del Toro had directed it though. That whole
yeah,
series really pissed me off. Like
yeah,
sexy dwarves. The fuck you guys.
yeah.
That doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. I don't even remember the last part of that trilogy.
No.
It was
They were milking that dead horse for every
yeah,
goddamn penny it was worth.
yeah, for
Sad.
sure. Okay.
Sad.
Anyway, here's a story that comes out of Christchurch, New Zealand. I don't think we've done a
Mhm.
lot of stories about New Zealand yet. I know we've mentioned Australia before,
Yeah.
but here's a headline from a New Zealand publication. It says council to stop paying the wizard. The is capitalized because that's this
Yeah.
person's name, the wizard. $16,000 a year after 23 years on the payroll.
Ah. Ah. That's so okay. All right, I have questions. I do have questions because I've heard of
Mhm.
the Wizard before, the
Yeah.
Wizard of New Zealand, because he was famous for changing his name to the Wizard, like it
Yes,
says so on his identification cards.
he was formerly known as Ian Brackenbury Channel.
Okay, well, the Wizard is way better. Obviously, that makes total sense. What I'd like to know is $16,000 a year. I mean, I guess that's not a tremendous amount of money, but like it's not nothing. What were they paying him for? What were his duties? What did like?
So in reading this article, my understanding was this guy is a performance artist where he dresses up
Okay,
as a wizard and he looks very convincing.
he does.
And he was a local character, like here in Milwaukee, we've got a local character named the Milverine, who is a dude that kind of looks like Wolverine and marches
Yeah,
around with his shirt off.
yeah, he's great.
And so this guy was entertaining, and people would seek him out to get their pictures taken with him
Sure.
and hear him do his wizard performance. So at one point, the city noticed, and they're like, "Hey, we should get this guy on the payroll. He's kind of like a tourist attraction." So it says the council's contract with the wizard called for him to, quote, provide acts of wizardry and other wizard-like services as part of promotional work for the city of Christchurch.
Okay.
So whatever that means.
Well, I think it means that he has to talk hobbits into going on wild adventures. I think that's fair. That wizards do that. I would imagine that like they probably don't have a lot of problems with pest control in Christchurch because they have a wizard. And they have a
Right.
wizard. So I mean, like the weather's got to be perfect. Or maybe he just generally provides like atmosphere. I don't know. If I just had a wizard that was hanging around and he never did anything wizardy, but he was the wizard, I'd still be like, I pay $1 for that. That seems fine. Also, to be fair, speaking in defense of the Milverine, who is a nice guy, by the way, I've met him several times. He's very pleasant.
Yeah.
Like I think that like it's not unreasonable that the city of Milwaukee should
Get him on the
just
payroll. Yeah.
get him on the payroll, guys. Like that's local color. Like you got to have local color. UT are what? A local treasure. You're a local treasure. Like you should definitely like they should throw you at least a couple $100 like just for I don't know atmosphere. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think that soup's legit.
Well,
Yeah.
there's some things. Okay, I understand. Doing a budget for anything is really hard, and any city budget, I'm sure, is just a nightmare. But there are certain things
Yeah.
you can't cut. You can
No,
cut
right.
some stuff, but there's other stuff you don't want to cut it because it's gonna.
But what was
Um,
so important that what did you need to pay for so badly that you would fire the wizard? Like, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen, T. The wizard's going to go cut his last check. He's going to go take it to the bank. Boom. The next week, there's going to be a fucking dragon or a zombie
yeah,
outbreak.
right.
And they'll be like, oh, geez, shouldn't have fired the wizard, I guess. But look at these nice new park benches or whatever. That's just stupid. People don't know how to prioritize.
Here's what the wizard has to say about this. Here's a quote. He says, "They are a bunch of bureaucrats who have no imagination. They are not thinking of ways to promote Christ's church overseas. They are just projecting an
Mm,
image of bureaucrats drinking lattes on the boulevard."
see,
So,
and
well
he's
said,
right.
wizard. Yeah.
He's right. Long live the wizard. Long may
Uh,
he reign.
and he says that he's very committed to being a wizard, and so he will continue to do it, even without the pay.
I'm
So,
really surprised that there's not a bunch of other towns being like, hey, we have $16,000.
yeah, yeah.
You could come here and be a wizard. I feel like Milwaukee could use a wizard.
Yeah.
We can't not use a wizard. I don't think it's going to hurt us any to have a wizard. Like, I'm sure the city of Milwaukee has spent $16,000 on dumber shit for sure. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
What do you guys think? Where
What
should the wizard
the
go?
bronze fonts, for example? How much did that
Right.
thing cost?
It had to
The-
cost like 60 grand. It had
yeah,
to.
yeah, and it doesn't even look like the fonts. It looks like a werewolf in a person, a
It
werewolf
does.
in a leather jacket.
First of all, you don't know the Fonz isn't a werewolf. Like, you don't know that at all. He could be. Maybe we just didn't hear that part of the story. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where should the wizard go? Where should the Wizard of Christchurch take his services? Who do you think should hire him to be the wizard? I think like New York is off the table. They got enough weird shit going on there. Ditto Portland. I think he should go someplace really random. Like he should just like, I don't know. I think Minnesota is a good place for a wizard. They got all those trees there. Like it's
Yeah.
very mystical looking already. I could see that. Or maybe Nebraska. Nothing's going on in Nebraska. Omaha is the most boring city in the entire world. That's where you should go. Omaha,
Here,
you're up.
we got a comment on Facebook here. We can't see who the user is on this app, I guess, but it says all Milwaukee would spring for is a parking wizard, and he would suck.
I don't think the wizard would dare dirty his hands with that kind of mere mortal fuckery. There's no way. Plus, like, we don't need a parking wizard. They're already pretty fucking good at it. Like, I don't think they need.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Here's a nice Halloween story and some home state pride for us, I guess, here in Wisconsin. This story comes to us live from TMJ4, local news station. Wisconsin man grows heaviest pumpkin in country. The heaviest pumpkin in the entire country
The biggest
is,
pumpkin there is.
yes, it's in Markesan, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure where that is. Oh, it's by Fond du
Okay.
Lac. It's by
Oh,
Fond du
okay.
Lac.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Mike Schmidt is the pumpkin farmer, and he has grown a pumpkin that weighs 2,520 pounds.
Whoa, that's like my car.
I know.
That's so big. Whoa.
We're going to link to the story in the show notes for this episode, by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, and we'll have a link so you can see a picture of this pumpkin. It's really insane. It's this huge like orange blob. There's a picture of the farmer, and he's sitting on it like it's a giant beanbag chair, pretty much.
Right. Love it.
And it's the second heaviest in the world. The first heaviest, this is surprising, is in Italy. They grew the heaviest pumpkin in the world in Italy.
Okay.
And sadly, he could have won the World Championship Pumpkin Weigh-Off, which is a thing, apparently, that happens in California. It pays $9 per pound to the winner. That means he could have won $22,680.
Yeah.
But there was a crack in his pumpkin, which
Ah,
disqualified it.
ah, that's too bad. That's really too bad. It's
Yeah.
really too bad. Um, I don't know. I feel like Wisconsin has, haven't we won like five of the fattest cities in America like every single year? I think it's only fair that we have the fattest pumpkin. I think that's great stuff. Also, I think also in California they have that thing where it's the gourd regalia, where
Okay.
you like had to take a pumpkin or other gourd, I imagine, and hollow it out and attach an outboard motor to it, and then they race those gourds up and down a river there. I saw a picture on the internet this week of a guy dressed like a gnome who was driving a giant hollowed out pumpkin, and he was cruising. Let me tell you what, he was getting it done. He should have taken it there. Oh, that's so sad about the crack in his pumpkin. I want to send him a nice note. That's unfortunate.
I mean, what is it? What does it matter? It seems like a dumb rule.
It really does. I mean, let's not be pumpkin shaming over here. That's not cool. It's a crack. It weighs 2,000 pounds. There was gonna be a crack. Like, whatever. Whatever. I can't believe he didn't just epoxy that crack up and roll it to fucking California. That's
uh,
shocking.
here's a good quote from the farmer, though. He's apparently not that broken up about it. He says, "It happens. There's no crying in pumpkin growing." Yeah, maybe. I guess.
Oh, there's a secret, you guys. If you're having a rough year, just go plant some pumpkins. I can't even cry after that, I guess. That's what a champ. What a champion. He's in it for the love of the game. And that's what I like about him. He's just in it for the pumpkins.
Yeah, he says,
Yeah.
here's another good quote from him. "Some people say we're crazy, but we're just people who like to have a little fun out in the dirt and
Same.
and grow gigantic pumpkins."
Same, dude. That's super cool. I hope he carves it into a gigantic jack-o'-lantern that like you can crawl inside of or something. That'd be super neat. You know what? You could bring it to the pumpkin pavilion. I wonder if that's even
Uh,
happening. I don't think Pumpkin Pavilion is
oh,
happening this year. That's
oh,
sad.
I haven't seen anything about it.
I haven't
Pumpkin
either.
Pavilion, if you don't know, here in the Bayview neighborhood of Milwaukee, there's a nice park called Humboldt Park, and they set up this giant display with hundreds of
Hmm.
jack-o'-lanterns,
Yeah.
which is, of course, a really cool thing to see this season.
Yeah. It's awesome. They
Mm.
carve them for like 3 days beforehand. People come to the park and carve them. But yeah, I don't think they're doing it this year. What a bummer. What a super bummer. That guy would have been a shoe-in. Ah, oh well. Oh well.
Oh, here's another comment. "The Wisconsin pumpkin got that big by eating all of the curd or burgers." That's
Curd
a new
burgers.
burger on sale at Culver's, which is a chain. I think it's
Mm,
just in Wisconsin, right?
I
But
think so.
they serve hamburgers, and they have people from Wisconsin. We love our cheese curds, so they have a
Mm,
cheese curd burger.
delicious.
You have to try one, yeah.
Oh
It's
man,
good.
I totally smash a curd burger right now with extra curds on the side. Yeah.
Here, oh, this is interesting. This might give a little info on this giant pumpkin. It says, "Traditionally, the ultimate fate of a giant pumpkin is to be blown up, dropped from a crane, or even used as a jack-o'-lantern. However, given the importance of genetics, Schmidt is keeping his pumpkin to collect the seeds from it in
Mm,
hopes that it yields
smart.
another record setter."
Super smart. He could still carve it and keep the seeds though. I mean, I could
Yeah.
see if he blued it up, then maybe the seeds wouldn't make it, but he could still
Oh,
carve
yeah.
it. I
Yeah,
hope he
I would
does.
think you could still drop it from a crane if you wanted to. That
Yeah.
sounds fun.
That seems like a really a
If you
really
happen to
easy
have a
way to
crane.
right? Anybody with a crane who's interested, I'll drive you out there. Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that would be a really easy way to get at the seeds. Seems like you'd be killing two birds, one stone, one crane, one giant pumpkin. Boom. Very efficient. Hmm. Huh. Hmm. All right. Well, that's fabulous. I love this for us. Yet another feather in our cap. Absolutely spectacular. Because Wisconsin is super good at winning right now. Did you see what Aaron Rodgers did?
Mm-mm, no.
Okay, I'm not a big sports person, but I am a big psychological warfare person. So, okay, we're supposed to hate the Bears. Like, that's what we do. The Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers have been in rivalry since, like, I don't know, whatever, a long time.
Yeah, the
And
beginning of football. Yeah.
since the beginning of football.
Yeah.
And we habitually, I say we, because I'm totally on the Green Bay Packers. I'm like a tight end, if you know what I mean. Um, every time we play the Bears, we win. Like, I don't know, we win. I guess we win it. I don't remember the last time the Bears beat the Packers. Not that I'm keeping super close track. So the Bears and the Packers played this last weekend.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, who's the lead quarterback guy, who's a smarmy dude. There, I'm gonna say it. Aaron Rodgers is smarmy. He looks like a dime store pirate. I don't trust him. I wouldn't want to be in an elevator with him. He's just fucking smarmy. And to prove my point, he caught the winning touchdown. Like an asshole, he walked it into the end zone because he was so far ahead of the guys trying to catch him. Like there was no point in even breaking a sweat,
Right.
lest he smudge his smarmy foundation. He
Uh-huh.
puts the ball down, looks into the crowd, not back at the football players, not at the actual Chicago Bears, at the people of Chicago whom had come to cheer on their team,
Yeah.
pointed and yelled, "I own you. I still own you."
Oh, okay.
I was like, Aaron, what a dick. Like they know they're going to lose every time that they play the Packers. They understand that. You don't need to, I own
Right.
you. It's
Right.
terrible. There was a guy on the internet talking about it. He's a Chicago Bears fan. He said he was pretty sure that on the day that he died, the last thing he was going to see was Aaron Rodgers standing over his gasping form going, "I own you. I still own you." Like, oh my God, you give these people nightmares. Aaron Rodgers is a cryptid in Chicago. That's
Yeah,
real
it's a
life.
little bit creepy. It's kind of
Right?
creepy. Yeah.
I was like, dude,
I was gonna
why?
say poor sportsmanship, but I think it's even beyond that. It's a little creepy.
Yeah, he's a vampire. He's a vampire pirate. He's creepy. Aaron Rodgers is a fucking creepy guy. I don't even care.
Oh man. Okay. Here's one. This is from the BBC News. And this comes from England, of course, where a lot of weird stuff happens.
Oh yeah.
Lake District mysterious abandoned T for two found in woodland. So someone's walking through the woods and they find this very nice table set up with two chairs, and it looks like people were enjoying some champagne and some bakery. Because when they refer to tea in England, it's not necessarily that they're drinking tea; they're having like a refreshment of some sort.
Yeah.
But there's nobody there. And, their explanation, I mean, the probable explanation is that some fucking goofballs set up an Instagram photo shoot and then they're like,
Sure.
oh, we're just
Yeah.
going to leave this stuff there. But
Yeah.
it's a little mysterious because it's in the middle of the woods and someone just stumbled upon it. So it looks like something supernatural might have happened.
Yeah, and it was really nice too. There was like crystal glasses and like a little silver tea service. Like it was pretty fancy. It's pretty bougie for people to just up and leave it there, and just be like, fuck it. I don't know. We're leaving it here. I don't know. I maintain it was the good neighbors. I think it was the Fae because that's just the kind of shit that they would do. I bet you those idiots took that teapot home too. And now they're what? Under the hill. The Fae, they own them. Don't ever, you find stuff like that in the woods, you should just, thank you, Ray. Yes, it's a fairy
Ray
trap.
says it's
Obviously.
a fairy trap.
Obviously. I've known Ray for like 20 years and never once has she been abducted by the fairies. Not once. You know why? Because if she finds that shit in the woods, she's not going to touch it. Aaron Rodgers isn't cool enough to be a vampire, Ray says. Maybe a rat man or something. Rat man? Is that a thing? Yeah. There's a rat man?
That could be some sort of fae creature.
A rat man? Yeah, I hope they didn't take anything from that setup is all I'm trying to say. I hope they left it just totally alone. Just like it doesn't, at a certain point, things are so weird, you just have to pretend that they're not happening because there's no way that's going to turn out well for you. Just keep walking, bud. Just keep walking, bud. Did it look like someone had a tea? Like there was some half-eaten like cucumber sandwiches or...
Yeah, it looks like someone drank a half of a glass of champagne and there's like a half-eaten piece of chocolate cake with strawberries. And they had some cheese and crackers and, looks like some of those were eaten. So,
okay.
and this happened in Ambleside is the name of the
How come
town, which
all
a very British sounding
how
town,
come
Ambleside.
none of the towns in Great Britain sound like real places? I don't understand why that is. It sounds like they were like trying to win a bet to come up with the most ridiculous sounding place. Oh, it's an Amble Skinnerports, Berlery town, Hampton. Sure it is, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the ferries all hang out. 100%.
Yeah, and as they know, it would have been a lot of trouble to carry that because it's about half a mile from the nearest road, and it looks like they finished eating and just got up and left. But this official is also noting that they've seen an issue with litter being left behind a lot more during the pandemic.
I mean, that's not really litter though. That's more like a
Yeah,
dining service. Also,
right,
no mortal human being drinks a half a glass of champagne. That's fucking ridiculous. Nobody drinks half a glass of champagne. You drink the whole glass of champagne. I
right.
I, I don't believe that for a second. Not for a second. I don't know. You ever see some chicks go to town on like the bottomless mimosa and look at
Yeah,
those people, right?
yeah. I've had to work brunch bartending
Oh my
where
God.
you had
Same.
a table of 10 people, and you cannot pour the mimosas fast enough because
Yeah.
they're just constantly getting a refill.
Right. So you're talking about people who've had like 15 mimosas. Riddle me this. Did you ever see half a mimosa still on the table after they left?
No, I mean, it
No.
would be kind of rare. I think maybe there was a couple times where someone was drinking a lot of mimosas, and then suddenly they're like, "Oh crap, I'm at the point where I'm about to pass out." So then they
Dude,
might leave a half a mimosa.
I
What's
don't
rare?
know. I don't, yeah, you don't see it very much. Even when a person's drank a gallon of mimosa, they're still going to knock back that last
That
mouthful
last
of
one,
mimosa
this
for
they,
sure.
they're like, "Damn it, I'm gonna get my money's worth. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this $15 bottomless mimosa really pay off by drinking 5 bottles
Dude,
of champagne."
dude, I have bartended for many, many years, and I have seen some very inebriated people, but I swear I have never seen anybody as drunk as like some 135-pound-year-old like woman on Sunday brunch who's had like a dozen mimosas. They get freaking silly on it. It's crazy time. So I guess what I'm really saying is whoever was eating that tea in the woods was not from Milwaukee.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
That's no,
Here,
that's not.
Ray's got another good comment here. It says, "If it comes from Ambleshire, it isn't champagne; it's sparkling fairy trap wine."
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is technically what it's called. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And they live cheese. They live uneaten cheese and undrunk champagne. No way. That's fairies. That's not people. I can't wrap my head around that. Sorry, no way. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to add England to our list of places where weird stuff happens. I feel like if stuff ever happens in like England or Scotland or Ireland, like Scotland has their own like brand of like super crazy, but like Ireland and England who hate each other and are not the same place. And I'm not suggesting that.
Right.
What I
And
am
Wales.
suggesting that there are definitely a lot of fairy stories that come out of there. Remember, we had that one story last year about that guy that had that bush where the fairies lived, and he like
Oh yeah,
called,
yeah.
he consulted with other people who had fairy bushes on their property as to how best enlist the fairies to help them in their agricultural pursuits. So maybe that's just their weird. Maybe that's just their Florida shit. It's just all fairies.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, here's the story. I equate the story in my head with Halloween. It's funny. I think it's because I probably just watched, they did an animated version of this Batman story. The Long Halloween is what it's called.
Oh, so
And
good.
it's I mean it's very loosely based, I think, on the story of the Zodiac killer.
Sure.
This famous serial killer. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the movie Zodiac that was about him. It's pretty good. And he's been such a mystery because it's been an unsolved case. You
Right.
know, is this creepy story where he's killing couples mostly and then sending these uh, very bizarre letters to the police,
Yeah.
and they're super creepy just the way that these letters are written because it's
Yeah.
like, "Hello, it's me, the Zodiac speaking.
Right.
and I can't wait to kill all of you disgusting pigs and
Right. He was doing
stuff
some
like that.
Aaron Rodgers shit. Just getting
Right.
real
Yeah,
creepy
right.
with it.
Yeah, there you go. And he would have these very complicated ciphers that he would
Right.
include. And the Zodiac movie, it's based on the true story of, it was actually the newspaper's cartoonist got super obsessed with the story because he loved puzzles
Oh,
and
sure. Okay.
cryptograms. So he was trying to figure out what some of these messages were, and he did crack some of the codes. And there's been many theories over the years about who this guy could have been.
Ted Cruz's dad.
Right. Well,
Well,
no. Ted Cruz is supposed to be the Zodiac killer.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Where did that?
there was a
Where did that?
separate theory that Ted Cruz's dad had been part of the JFK assassination for
Oh,
some
sure.
reason.
You know, the
And
family that I don't know, whatever together.
yeah,
Where
right.
where did that come from? Why did people think Ted Cruz was the Zodiac killer? Do you know?
I think it started just by people that hated Ted Cruz, and they found some really random facts that suggested that it was not, it was within the realm of possibility
I mean, I guess.
that,
Sure.
in so much in that he was alive during these killings. And
I mean, I guess whatever, because I, first of all, don't think Ted Cruz is smart enough to be the Zodiac
yeah,
killer.
right. No way.
No, because I mean, that was somebody who at least had the competency to put together a really hard puzzle, which is
Yeah.
not Ted Cruz's MO at all. But I guess like if the Zodiac killer is still around, he could be anybody. Like he could be anybody. You don't know.
Yeah, and he's, Ted Cruz could not escape from Texas to Cancun without being caught in like
Right.
15 minutes. Someone saw him at the airport and they're
Right.
like, "There's Ted Cruz leaving."
Right. So unless he's
And
playing like the Andy Kaufman long
oh
game,
yeah,
like
yeah.
no, he's not. That's not possible.
He's secretly a serial killer genius when he's
Yeah.
not America's most bumbling congressperson.
Yeah.
But now I
Okay.
love one of the great things about the internet. You're saying, there's a lot of great angles to the internet,
Yeah.
even though there's also a lot of garbage. But I love like collaborative efforts to solve
Sure.
crimes and stuff.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah.
So there's a group of 40 independent investigators, and they've compared notes and pooled their resources, and they're pretty sure that they've discovered who the Zodiac killer was. Oh, they call themselves the case breakers. That's a very
open source crime solving. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
So the evidence that they found was this guy died, and there was some stuff left in his dark room. He had a photography dark room in his house.
Okay.
And there's an image that they found there that showed a scar on this guy's forehead that matched scars seen on a sketch of the killer. And that one of the letters could be cracked by removing the letters of his name. And they also found evidence that they believe that he probably killed a previously a murder that wasn't linked to him, that happened in 1966.
Oh,
Riverside.
that would actually be really clever if the key to the cipher was the name of the killer, because I remember that because he was constantly taunting the police. Like that was his whole thing. And they say that's the whole thing with a serial killer, is that they want to be caught. That what they want to be famous, they want to whatever. And in his letters, he said, everything you need to know to catch me is in these letters. My name is in these letters. Mm-hmm. So if that was the key, then that was a big fuck you, because it was his name was literally in the letters, but you couldn't solve the letters if you didn't know his name.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Sassy.
So
Sassy.
all this points to a man named Gary Francis Post. Post is spelled Poste. He was an Air Force veteran and a house painter from Southern California, which is, of course, all the crimes took place in California. And he died in 2018, which is probably the most frustrating thing about the story, is that he can't be caught because he's dead, and they'll never be able to 100% confirm it. I feel like, unless they find like some DNA evidence or something like that.
Right.
But you know, they'll never get to question him about. You know, he might have killed more people, obviously, and there's a lot
I
of
would
unanswered questions.
I would think if he was the Zodiac killer that he would have left, because I'm imagining this person passed of old age or passed of illness,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like he passed of like, what did he die of? So he didn't die suddenly, is what I'm saying. He,
Yeah, it doesn't say the cause of death, but definitely if he was doing these murders in the 60s, then, you know,
yeah,
that was 50 years ago. So
yeah, more
it must
60
have been,
years ago,
yeah, right. He must have been
in his
pretty
80s,
elderly.
probably. So, okay, I would think that at some point, though, if you were the Zodiac killer, you went to all this trouble to create all these, like, some of these letters were pages and pages long. They
Hmm.
were thousands and thousands of characters. Like, it was not a little bit. You would think if that was the case, you were getting to the end, you were like, these idiots are never going to find me. You'd think that as the Zodiac killer, you would have left a clue. Like, how would you have been able to resist
Right.
leaving that one last clue somewhere in his belongings or the way he lived his life? There's got to be. There would
Well,
have to be.
he would have done one last murder for old time's sake,
Sure, sure, sure.
and then left a more obvious clue.
Right. I mean, I guess there's that too, is they say that people who are serial killers, they don't just stop doing serial killing. Like once you're a serial killer, you're not just going to go back to being like, oh, I'm bored with that. I'm going to go back to playing D&D or whatever. Like you're a serial killer. That's what you do. That's where you get your kicks. So if he never got caught and nothing ever happened to him, because I know that they, at one point they were like, he's either been arrested for something else or he's like dead because we're not getting these letters anymore and we're not seeing these couples getting killed any longer. And serial killers don't just stop doing it. So something must have happened to him where he's been taken off the map. But provided that that didn't happen, especially if it was this guy who just apparently went on being a house painter or whatever, he had to have been still killing people because you don't just stop killing people. So I wonder like how many murders afterwards were they like, oh, it's just a copycat killer, or how many, because there's a couple of unsolved like strings of perhaps related murders that have happened in the country and in California specifically. Like what if he just changed tactics and started doing something else? Like maybe he's not just the Zodiac killer. Maybe he's a couple different killers. Like it's really hard to say because he never got caught.
Yeah. What I also really think is interesting about his story is he's really, there's a lot of Lover's Lane legends, you know,
Yep.
like
Yep.
the Hook Man,
Yeah.
the Goat Man.
It's
We're gonna talk
his
about
name.
him. There's
Yep.
definitely like a legend about Goat Man killing couples that are making out
Yeah.
on a dark road. But this guy actually did. That was his MO. He would go to a lover's lane and he'd see a couple making out in their car, and then he'd
Right.
walk right up to the window and shoot them. So
See, it's funny to me because like those stories, like when you talk about different spooky stories having like categories, because they do. And a lover's lane story was supposed to be like a morality tale about why you don't screw around with your sweetheart in a car on a road. Like it's about kids not having sex, right?
right.
But like all myths, all stories have that like nugget of reality in them. Like he wasn't the first one. Remember, did you ever see The Town That Dreaded Sundown? Surely you've seen that.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that based on, I think that was based on Zodiac.
Yeah,
Or
it was.
yeah.
Well, it was based on Zodiac, but then it was based on also a thing that happened in that town years
Okay.
before that that
All
was
right.
very,
Yeah.
very similar. And that guy didn't just get people on lovers lanes, but like that's how it started. And the truth of the matter is, that's just a really easy place to kill people
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Because it's isolated. Yeah.
it's isolated and they're not probably paying real close attention to their surroundings and might not have any clothes on. And like, yeah, it's
Right.
just a real easy place to kill people. Is that even still a thing? Is there still like lovers lanes? Is there a lovers lane in Milwaukee? I
I
guess
don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't think that millennials do that.
Right. No.
I think
They
they
just
do
like
more of a Netflix and chill.
Right, right.
And
They do sexting or whatever. These kids,
sexting, right, yeah.
you guys were
Uh,
so old.
I
It's not
know,
even,
I know.
it's not even,
What
what's
are
a
the kids?
sexting? I don't
What
know.
what are those crazy kids do these days to make out?
Do they still have lovers lanes and like I don't know? Do they go to a sock
but
hop? Oh.
yeah, a lot of these stories I think were invented by parents because they were afraid that their kids were gonna, possibly get hurt in
Right,
a isolated place. They're afraid for them. Also, of course, they're afraid that they're going to, maybe get pregnant or whatever.
right, right.
But it doesn't work because it might scare some people away, I guess, but I think for a lot more teens, made them very curious about
Yeah,
daring each other to drive down that road to
right,
see
right,
if they could
right.
see the goat man or the hook man or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And it's
Yeah.
funny in those lovers lane stories, like it's always like those are also called dead boyfriend stories because
Mhm.
like it's the chick always survives, just like in the
Yeah.
horror movie, like the last virgin always survives. It's always the boyfriend that gets like hooked
It-
to death or
yeah.
whatever. It's just
Or rammed by a giant goat head. Yeah. Right.
right.
That's
That's just
some dumb dude. Yeah.
and he's like, we're going to go to Lover's Lane and we're going to make out. And even if we don't make out, maybe I'll get murdered. Awesome.
Oh man.
Fucking guys.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's something. Didn't they say they had claimed a couple of years ago they thought they caught the Black Dahlia killer too, and also that
Oh
that dude was dead.
yeah. Yeah.
Remember?
Oh, I'm very interested in that story. We should take a deeper dive into it because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that a guy was researching it and figured out that the Black Dahlia killer
Was his
was his
dad?
dad.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like, what
And then
was that like?
he
Whew.
wrote a book about it, which
Yeah.
I actually think I have the book. I just haven't read it yet. So
Yeah, but yeah, they said they figured it. But I mean, of course, he was dead as well. And like that's not a thing that you can really figure out. But I guess the evidence that guy found was pretty compelling.
yeah,
Like he, his like the information he found in his dad's things. And again, it's one of those things. He was looking through his dad's things after his dad
yeah.
had died, and
He found
some
some
of the
clues. Yeah.
he found some clues that like the cops didn't even think to look for. That like it was very very compelling shit. So I don't know, I would be interested in that. I watched this show once too where they said they had figured out who Jack the Ripper was, and this dude thought it was his great grandfather who was Jack the Ripper. And to
Mhm.
be fair, they had found some pretty compelling evidence as far as that went too. And they dug up the guy's grave because they were convinced he wasn't going to be there, but he was. So
Hmm.
he totes wasn't Jack the Ripper. I'd have just left him buried and been like, whatever, he's probably Jack the Ripper, and moved on with my day and my life. But I don't know. Why would you want to prove that so badly? I just don't get it. I really don't understand it, but I don't know. It was so much easier to get away with like a string of ridiculous murders back in the day too. Like I know the FBI says that at any given time there's like 600 serial killers who kill
Damn.
people all the time for fun. I know, isn't that fucking wacky? And like mostly we don't hear about it because most of the people who go missing just poof off the face of the planet, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Are women, sex workers, like unhoused people, like folks who nobody's gonna look for. And so, like the number of people who actually are going missing slash getting murdered every year is way, way less than what most of the people think. But yeah, there could be 600 serial killers functioning at any given time in the United States of America, which is super wild to me because, like, it's not like it was back in the day where, like Ted Bundy could just be like, I'm not going to tell you who I am.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we live pretty much in like a surveillance state now,
Yeah, really,
It's a
honestly,
lot easier to find someone pretty quickly because
yeah,
there's cameras everywhere.
right,
DNA testing has advanced so much that,
right,
you just need a tiny fiber or something and you can
right.
track a
Plus, like,
person down.
you have like a tracking device in your pocket all the
Right. Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's really, I don't understand how people get away with murder these days at all. Like, it's very confusing to me, unless it's like you're being killed by somebody because then, like, if you're in the same house with them and like some shit, I guess it's harder to say what's going on. But like, I don't understand how that's even possible. It's really crazy to me. because with the Jack the Ripper thing, they were talking about, oh, he went to England and then he came to America and he did all these deaths and then he went back over to France or whatever and killed a bunch of other motherfuckers, or like that guy H.H. Holmes who had the murder hotel in
in
Chicago.
Chicago.
The year of the
World's
World's
Fair.
Fair,
Yeah.
and like that guy was fascinating too. See, I talk all the time about how I hate serial killers and I'm not into serial killers.
Yeah. Until the subject pops up. Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, I actually kind of know a lot about serial killers. That's weird.
Yeah.
Shit. Fuck. Let's change the subject. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, I think we're just about out of time.
Oh yeah.
I think that we came up with a great theory to introduce to the world, that is Aaron Rodgers, football player, is actually some sort of vampire.
Andrew
Sure,
said
that'll go over well.
He said he was a vampire.
A vampire? Yeah.
It totally is. Yeah. Oh, I don't care. Whatever. He's smarmy.
He wants to own your soul.
Yeah. I guess if you're from Chicago, he owns you. Dude, that's tacky. I don't care. Oh, we're going to get hate mail.
Oh, no. Well, so great. Halloween is coming up quickly. So
yeah.
We're looking forward to talking more about weird, creepy stuff for the rest of the season here.
Yeah.
And I think the next big event we have is Milwaukee Krampusnacht.
Oh, that'll be fun.
December 5th.
Yeah.
Starting to come together. So, but yeah, next week, I know that you're going to be talking about Goatman a little bit. And then we'll find some more creepy stories to talk about. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we can dig something up.
All right. See you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.